Hello and welcome to the LaLanne Pass It On podcast, where we talk to fitness professionals who are passing on Jack's message of helping people help themselves. My name is Greg Justice, and I am here with the real star of the show, as always, Elaine, LaLanne. How are you today, Elaine?
Well, I'm great. I'm just so excited to hear all about Christine, is her journey to being a CEO. She just became a CEO, and we're going to learn more about it today.
That's right. Well, today our special guest is Christine Conti. Now, Christine is a former collegiate athlete, an investment banker, and an English teacher who reinvented herself after a life-altering diagnosis at the age of 30. She is a best-selling author, international chronic disease and fitness educator, a motivational speaker, podcaster, and an ultra endurance athlete. She is the creator of multiple courses, such as the Arthritis Fitness Specialist, Orthopedic Fitness Specialist, Chronic Disease Fitness Specialist, and Let's Face It Together, Facial Exercise and Rehabilitation. In 2023, Christine was named the Idea World Fit Pro of the Year. And most recently, she became the owner and CEO of FITFIXNOW, which is a fitness education platform that offers convenient, accessible, and affordable continuing education for fitness professionals. It is a pleasure to welcome Christine to our show today.
That is an honor. I am so excited to be here. This is truly my honor to be here with the amazing Greg Justice and LaLanne.
Well, we're honored to have you, Christine, and we're so excited to hear about your new journey as CEO. And also, I want to ask the question. I'm always interested in how people get into fitness. And here you are, you're an English teacher, you're into banking, and then all of a sudden you're into a fitness. So I'm just so anxious to hear what made you transform over into the fitness.
I don't think I was ever not in fitness. Let's start there. I was always into athletics. I had two older sisters who played all the sports, and they played volleyball in college. Now, I was dragged from age 4 to I finished high school to watch athletic events. So I knew at an early age I wanted to play sports in college, and I played volleyball. And I also, though, had a mother from Brooklyn, God rest your soul, all right, who told me, Christine, fitness is a hobby. You have to go get a real job, right? A real job, because, that's not going to support you, because she taught us all to be very independent women. So I kind of put that aside and went into, business, and English was my degree in college. Wound up going into equity research and investment banking, lived in New York City. And I quickly figured out that money's great, but money's not everything. And I felt this wasn't behind a desk, wasn't me. So I got my master's in teaching, leadership. I could teach. So here's my idea. If I could teach, right, take my English degree, I could coach. And now I had gotten my personal training and group exercise and took all the exercise science courses in college, even though it wasn't my major, because I loved it. So I started teaching all these classes as my side hustle for extra money when I was in graduate school. And I continued that. So I was teaching and coaching, and I had developed my first LLC, which was Conti Fitness and Wellness, when I was about 24. So I always had it. But I was told, right, that I needed security. I needed, Christine, your pension. What are you going to do without your pension? Right. So
Yeah.
I kept going. I was in the fitness world. I went to the conferences. I started master training for some companies and traveled all over the United States and met all the people because I love people. And bam, age 30, I couldn't use my hands. I was in extreme pain all the time. I got diagnosed with a really advanced autoimmune disease, left my maternal grandmother a quadriplegic. She died when I was 10. I thought, and this was the same disease she was suffering from. I thought it was my death sentence. I thought this is it. Like I don't know how many years I have left of movement, and it's kind of defines who I am. And the doctor turned to me and is like, I'm sure you've got, quite a few more years of independent living ahead of you. Well, I'm 30. I've got kids and a husband and two cats and I just, it was a dark time. And I really went through a lot of kind of reflection. Who am I? What does fitness mean? It's not about killing yourself in a gym. It's not about jumping so high and running as fast as you can. It's about, I want to live with less pain. I want to control the symptoms of my disease and maybe not be on all these medications. What can I do? So I turned to all of my friends for decades in the fitness industry, exercise scientists. I did all the research, read everything from the Mayo Clinic to, Harvard Health and just tried everything. I was an experiment of one. And that was my journey. And about 8 years ago, I pulled the boat close enough to the dock where I had made all these connections all over the world in fitness and wellness. And I thought all of my knowledge of chronic disease wellness, I need to share this with other people who are suffering. And that's when I started writing courses and bringing this to the fitness world. And that's how I kind of got into, I kind of started podcasting, and then I wrote my book, and one thing led to another. And now I consult and I talk to businesses all over. And that led me to have the ability to be able to take over FITFIXNOW, which is the brand new company of one of the leading fitness continuing education companies in, I would say, the world, because the United States, we are the leaders in everything. So
You
that is my passion.
you used yourself as an example. You felt. I do the same thing. I find you're in tune with your body. And I think that's very important for people to be in tune with their body and to realize that this muscle, if you squeeze your hand, this muscle is going to pop up. If you don't squeeze your hand, nothing's happening. We don't use any resistance. So you resisted the idea that you were lost, but you weren't, and you forged ahead, and that's what made you successful.
A good, actually, someone I met along you sit down, you talk to someone, you have a glass of wine with this person, I wound up meeting this amazing woman. Her name is Jane Kurth. She has been in fitness and she's had dance studios when her children were younger. She was in kinesiology and exercise science. She taught at the collegiate level in Georgia, and she saw the need that this was before the pandemic. She saw the need that some of her students needed some more information about exercise. Where can they go for a little extra knowledge about whether it's certain muscles or how to move or injuries? And she started putting little courses online. And then bam, the pandemic hit. She again she saw the need, that people needed things online. So she wound up just because of the need. And she didn't do it to be rich and famous. She didn't do it even as this big business idea. It was, wow, these people need this. And she won a bunch of awards for putting education online. And, you know, this has been since 2018 now. She started putting courses on, and just slowly, gradually, she's been kind of grassroots growing this. And what's fascinating to me is that this company has not done any formal marketing yet, has been slowly growing every year by about 10%. And Jane and I've actually written courses for her and tried to, you know, kind of go out there and say, oh my gosh, this exists. And every fitness person I talk to is like, wait, I've never heard of this until now. So what I would love to do is bring this very affordable fitness, and it's continuing education. So I'm not certifying you, but I work with every single certifying body in fitness. So I want you to go out and get a personal training certification. I want you to go out and get Group X or anything. And then I want you to come to me and say, wow, I want to learn more about Parkinson's. I want to learn more about what's that hydration thing or nutrition, and I want to give you just little things that can help grow your base. And if you want to go explore deeper and take bigger certifications, that's great. But let me help you stay on the, you know, precipice of the best research, what's out there. And I'm going to be bringing in some of the top fitness professionals out there to design some of, you know, pieces of their specialty so that I can help promote them so that they can spread the word to their world.
What you did was saw a need, right? Just as Greg does, he sees a need, and you see a need, and then you design it. You don't think about being famous and this and that, because it has to come from your heart. It has to come from your passion, and it's important to you've got a passion for something. You don't think about, oh, well, this will make me a lot of money, or this will make me famous. You make that need famous. That's what you'd have to do, right, Greg?
Absolutely. And Christine, in the introduction, I mentioned 4 of the courses that you had created, but there were many more. I could have spent the whole interview just reading the bio, but we wanted to actually talk, so I just kind of abbreviated. But you have created more than those 4 courses that I just mentioned in the intro. Let's talk about those courses now. Will those be folded into FITFIXNOW? And what is the future of FITFIXNOW?
So FitFixNow is, so some of the courses that I've created, some of the big courses like Arthritis and some of the, let's see, Orthopedic fitness specialists, right? Those are gigantic courses, just like when you're going to go for your personal training or your Group X. It's not a 3-hour or an hour workshop, right? FitFixNow, I want you to think about as supplemental. This is something that is going to give you a taste of maybe a topic or maybe something that you want to know more about. You may not want to know $800 to $5,000 more about, and you may not have, 35 hours of free time in order to do it. So we're thinking, all right, money, time, this is really valuable. How can we best give information to people and also make it worthwhile? You want to renew your certification? Here's something that is within the $20 to $45 range to get you your continuing education, because let's face it, I love in person. I love conferences, but not everyone has the time to go. Not everyone has the money. And it costs, if you think about it, it sometimes is up to a couple $1,000s with travel and hotel and food and the cost to register and all the things. I want you to go to those. I do. But I also want you to have another option, because at the end of the day, fitness professionals are the eyes and the ears of making people healthy.
Now, you mentioned arthritis.
Yes.
Now, your course in arthritis, do you have exercises to do for the arthritis? Because people have arthritis in their knees, they have arthritis in their hands, especially when they get older.
So, for example, my big course is soup to nuts, head to toe, every joint, everything that goes right, everything that goes wrong, what we should be aware of, signs and symptoms and treatments, and even talks about what are the medications out there. I'm not a doctor, but I will tell you what they are and what they say. But I'm going to tell you, here are the things that you can do for you. And as a trainer, you can't diagnose and you can't prescribe medicine. But what you can do is say, let's look at your movement. Let's look at your diet. Let's look at stress, because the number one thing that causes inflammation is stress. So it's stress causes inflammation, and then inflammation causes symptoms and brings on symptoms of disease, or brings on disease at an earlier age. So what is it that we can do as an umbrella, as a lifestyle, right? So that's like the big course. Whereas I have little courses on FITFIXNOW that might be 3 hours. And it might be exactly what you said, Elaine. It might be, I'm going to give you some basic knowledge about arthritis. And then I'm going to give you a whole bunch of different exercises that maybe you can try with your clients that have arthritis. Maybe you're not a personal trainer. Maybe you're just a person who has arthritis, who wants to learn some exercises to feel better.
Almost everybody, when they get older, has some kind of arthritis. And I believe that moving those joints are the most important. I have a little story that I can tell you. It goes way back to Jack when he had his he had a 10,000 square foot gym above. We had a little health food store below, and this girl came in and she said, "Oh," she says, I have more problems with my husband. I can't do this. I can't do this. He wants to go." I said, "Well, are you moving? You got to be moving if you've got arthritis." And I said, "There's a gym upstairs, and you could it's 10,000 square feet, and you could start working out a little bit, and maybe it'll help you." And she says, "Oh, I don't think so." She had a negative attitude. So that's number one. You got to get rid of your negative attitude. Then, so she after I talked to her, she says, "You know what? I'm going to go upstairs, and there was no elevators. She had to climb up the stairs, and practically cried with her hands because she was hurting so much." And I didn't hear from her much because we had this little health food store, and people would come in and go upstairs. She came back about a month later. She says, "Look at me. I can do this. I can do that. I've been doing the gym." I said, "See, I told you. You just keep moving, keep those joints active." It's like, did you ever, I have an old rusty hinge I used to use in my lectures. This rusty hinge, I said, is this you? And it would creak, creak, creak. Or this nice hinge that's beautiful, and it moves really easy. So the more I moved that old rusty hinge, the more it moved. But so movement is the key.
I love how you use the rusty hinge. That's fantastic. Also, are you a rusty hinge? Are you going to sit there and rust and disintegrate, or are you going to do something? And there was one of my favorite doctors. I still go to him.
You can use that if you quote me.
I'm going to. Yeah. Stolen. Noted.
Quote Jack LaLanne because it was his idea.
Don't be a rusty hinge.
Find me a rusty hinge.
Well, what did Jack like to say about it's better to wear out than to rust out?
Yeah, right.
Or it's, you know what? I say to people as well, as you age, if you had to go see a doctor for something, would you rather it be a orthopedic or a cardiologist? Because it's a lot easier to replace a knee, an ankle, a hip than it is to replace your heart due to, you know, cardiovascular issues or whatnot. I'm like, I choose orthopedic. You know what those, you know, replacements are like today? You're like a robot. It's like go gadget.
Well,
Well,
when
you know, and Christine, you talk a lot about as part of your recovery when you were 30 and going through those years of trying to figure it out and an experiment of one, you talk a lot about the movement process helping you. Let's talk a little bit about that. How did you discover that and what was the process like for you?
So when when I was diagnosed and I really thought, wow, you know, the doctor said we don't know how long you have. We don't know. And it affects everyone differently. Like I said, my grandmother, it affected her spine and her neck. She was, you know, and that's just the way it was. Medicine's obviously a lot better. I always say Western medicine's here for a reason. However, if you don't use it, you lose it is absolutely true. So let's keep everything as, you know, as humanly possible, right? So for me, like Elaine, you brought up before about your mind. Without your mind, you got nothing. And that is so powerful because I truly believe that when you are diagnosed or you get injured, or I don't care, we're getting older, right? We go through the grieving process. We do. And I think we need to talk about this more as
uh,
fitness professionals.
the, we need to talk about mind more because you know, Jack always said, your mind is a mine. It's full of diamonds, and all you have to do is dig them up.
Yeah.
And and he said, what in our book, Pride and Discipline, uh, the legacy of Jack LaLanne, he says your mind is the key to everything. Everything starts between your ears.
It's that
If
powerful though. They said if you don't go, like I had to go through it myself. And it's it's one thing to go through the actual grieving process, right? We've all lost loved ones, we've all lost pets, we've all lost, right? But when you start to realize part of me, part of my identity is gone. And now who am I? Who am I going to be? Like it's who are you without that person? Who are you without this ability? These are real things. And
right,
I talk about the grieving process of I had to go through the anger and the disbelief and the pleading with, you know, people have gods, they're like, oh God, why me? Or I'll do anything to, you have to go through this and it's all at a different
that's
pace.
right. I lost my daughter when she was 21 in an automobile accident. Now, my mind said I can either have a pity party and I,
Mhm.
you know, feel sad and sorry for myself, but I can't. My mind told me that I cannot change things. I can never ever change. Whatever happens to you, you have to accept it and go on and find a way. And but too many people want to have a pity party for themselves. Naturally, it's you have to go through, you know, a grieving process. But still, in all, you know, in the back of your mind that uh, you can't change. Period.
But there's those of us that realize like it was the best thing that ever happened to me by being diagnosed because I was able to get to the point of acceptance and say to myself, all right, Christine, this is my Wonder Woman. She quotes this. You have two choices in life. You can do something or do nothing. Always choose something. And I looked around and I looked at my children and I looked at, I've been an educator and a coach and I said, I am not giving up. I am going to use this as a beacon for other people, because if my legs aren't going to work, my arms, whatever it may be, I'm going down swinging. And that was movement. And I said, if I can't jog anymore, I'll walk. If I can't walk, push me in the wheelchair. Fine. But I'm not being that person. I'm going to step out and somehow be that role model so other people don't give up. And that's what we see too much.
Words are powerful. And you used one word that was powerful, and that word is accept. And and Greg, I know you agree with me on that. He accepts. I mean, there's nobody that's accepted things that come along than Greg. So I admire you for your acceptance.
And I think it's also important to for the message out there that you can take somebody in a coaching experience as far as you have been yourself. And it's important to have that empathy and being able to say, I understand, I get it, I can help you because I've been there. And that's a very powerful thing, to be able to coach somebody to a place where you have been. And that's where you've got such good experience. I'm going to assume that's why you wrote the book, and that's a good transition into your book. Let's talk about that.
This is not an autobiography by any means. However, what happened with the whole, let's accept, let's move forward, let's shine a light on amazing people, amazing stories. And I knew when I left teaching that I didn't have $1 million for marketing. I didn't start a podcast because I was going to be famous. And I mean, I'm still, if you'd like to sponsor me, that'd be great. But I didn't do it for that reason. Like you said, Elaine, I did it from here because I'd seen the fitness industry for 25 years. I saw all these people come in with these great ideas, and they would go away because they didn't have the money to market or get a word out there. So I thought, you know what I have the ability to do? If I would love to host a TV show, but like no one asked. So I always think of like, all right, if there's not a door to open, I'm going to build the door myself and open it myself. So, hey, let's podcast. And what we're going to do, a good friend of mine, is let's feature health, wellness, nutrition. Let's be unbiased. Let's give really great information because we see a lot of bad out there. And we'll take all these top fitness and wellness professionals from all over the world that I would meet. And I would say, hey, I would love to feature you on my podcast. Let's help you promote whatever it is you're doing. And that, it started with fitness wellness and people who own companies in fitness. But then as the years went on, we realized fitness isn't just about exercise programs. We had people come on, and one example was a woman. She came on and talked about how she was in aqua aerobics and she developed this program. But by the end of the podcast, we also found out that her grandmother was part of the Underground Railroad, who used to make quilts with special symbols on them to help the slaves escape into Canada. And now she speaks around the world about all of and we were like, that's it. It's not about the thing, it's the story. And we started to have more and more people come on with these stories of unbelievable resilience. They shouldn't be alive. They shouldn't have made it through that. And so my book called Split Second Courage, the part on the bottom is, what if your fears were the key to your dreams? So all of us out there are, oh, I'm afraid to quit my job. I'm afraid to leave this relationship. I'm afraid to fill in the blank. Well, your fear is what's going to lead you to your dream, your destiny. And I will never forget people when I left my teaching career, they were like, I mean, I never had to worry about paying bills or money or whatever. I always worked. I always had a job. And then I said to myself, if I don't do this, if I don't go out and see if this is where I'm supposed to be. And I'm following my heart because my heart's telling me this, but everyone else is like, oh, she's crazy. She's losing a pension. She's going through a midlife crisis. How is it? And I'm sitting here going, but this feels so right. And again, it wasn't about the money, but I'm like 8.5 years deep of meeting the most amazing humans in the world. So this book is some of my story, but also sharing all of these like top people that I've got to interview to also shed light on their stories. So
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And then when you say from the heart, that's what I believe. Everything, if you have a passion, you can tell when you see people on television, and some don't come up through it, but when you see that heart and that passion in their eyes and the way they talk, you feel it. And and I'm sure you've seen it in many interviews and whatnot. When people speak from the heart, you're inspired.
Christine, kind of a fun little transition now. One of the courses that you created is called Let's Face It Together, Facial Exercise and Rehabilitation. And I think because we talked a little before as we did the recording, that Jack actually did a program called Face It Tonics. And it was a series of facial exercises. Let's talk about the connection there between Jack's programming and yours.
So fun. What is fascinating is that I don't know why we don't exercise the muscles in our face, because it's the same concept as every single other muscle in our body. And the way that this came about was a kind of a fluke. People were asking because I was doing different things with chronic illnesses. So what is huge is that if you notice, there's like boxing for Parkinson's, there's all these different programs out. And I thought to myself, okay, there's two things going on right now. Number one, I'm teaching, some yoga classes here and this, and people were always coming up and saying, Christine, what can I do for this or that? And they pout at their face. And I'm like, okay, well, how about number one, we sit up tall? How about number two, we bring our chin up a little bit? So I'm literally prompting them as if they're models to try and as I'm infusing this all into my classes, I'm like, this is ridiculous. Why am I not just teaching them about the muscles in the face and how they should be holding their face? Not, again, not new. But then I started working with all these different different instructors and telling them, in different programs or lectures, I would just sprinkle it in there. And they're like, why don't you come up with something that we can just put into our classes? Like a little, okay, great, fine. It's fun. There's not, I didn't have contraptions. We're not using things, right? So, all right, very cool. We'd hold our smiles for a while and open the eyes. But what happened is that people would tell me, they started reaching out and saying, Christine, this has been almost life-changing for my Parkinson's, for my people that have had Bell's palsy, people that have had facial injuries. So that, for me, something that was just kind of a passion, like, oh, this is common sense, like it's muscles, here's how it was other people coming to me with feedback saying it would be amazing if you could write something that could not only be used for the average person who just wants to tighten up their skin or hold themselves up, but the people that actually do need to practice their speech, practice opening their mouth.
How now, brown cow?
I know. How about my favorite? I've got a couple of them. Avocado, right? Now I can get in nutrition, right? We could have our hydration in the summer with our watermelons, where we're opening up all of our muscles in our neck, and it's super fun and it's hysterical. Also, I had we'd pretend that we'd be different, like a queen. We'd be, hello, darling. We'd look around, but that's how that came
I have a
about. Isn't that
story
fun?
about the chin. In the 50s, I was doing when I started out, I started out in 1951 with Jack, and he was teaching me, all about the exercises and
Yeah.
whatnot. We were doing face exercises, and so I was I was going like this. I was lecturing to the school somewhere, and I was going, and I said, okay, put your hand on your forehead. Now resist, and then stick your chin out, and then down, up and down. Well, I did it up and down and up and down the first time I ever did it. I was so sore.
And I don't think people realize that there are more than 50 muscles in the face.
55,
Yeah.
55 muscles in your face.
And muscles are muscles. They will get sore if you use them. And so that's a great example of that, Elaine.
Well, I do them every day. And I
Yeah.
also do this. With my eye, this eye is kind of closing, but I'm blind in this eye. But you put your fingers on the little bones right here,
Mhm.
lightly, very lightly, and then you open and close your eyes. And underneath this, you could feel the muscles working. You put your fingers here, and you can feel the muscles working. You put your fingers up here,
Yeah.
feel the muscles working. And I'm sure that's one
Yeah.
thing you use
Yeah,
too.
you got your temporalis muscles, your frontalis muscles, your occipital. I mean, it's just one of those things that you don't always think about.
I
And
do them every day, every day.
right. And when we talk about, you know, having respect and having courage and having confidence, one of those things, and I would say to people, what is the first thing that someone looks at when they meet you? It's your eyes and your face. And for that, holding yourself up and opening your eyes and making that contact, it, let's be honest, like that's the first thing that's judged, right? You know when someone is lacking confidence or they're lying, and you know when they're honest and they're speaking from the heart.
And you want to exercise your eyes too. You get, and I do this a lot. I do this a lot. And then I look on, but I only have one eye left, so I, I go. I do. I move my eyes and my face and my. I move. You can see I move all the time. I got this chair that moves around, so you see me on these on these pods. Yes, I'm always moving. I've always been a mover.
Well, that's it. Once you stop moving, it's all over. Isn't that like that is period the end? And I don't care if you have a sore shoulder or a hip or a leg. You have two choices, right? You can be sore and kind of in a little pain and sit on your butt, or you could be sore and a little pain and be walking around, and maybe that's going to help your circulation, your movement, and get everything stronger. I don't know. That's
Yes.
that's just me.
And circulation is life without question. Movement, you've got to move. You've got to move. Well,
Yeah.
Christine, tell us where people can learn more about you and all the amazing things and projects that you're doing.
Right here on this podcast. Yes. So super easy to find me. It is, you could Google me, and people tell me I'm very Googleable, right? But Conti Fit, CONTI Fit.com. I do a nice big newsletter it's free with information and articles. There's a monthly kind of, I think it's either inflammation or arthritis or something every month, and lots of nice recipes. And then, of course, on the FITFIXNOW.com, FITFIXNOW.com is all of those wonderful courses. We're doing a founders as kind of a special for the next couple of weeks. We're doing a founders rate of $129 for the entire year, and it's as many continuing education credits as humanly possible. So you can actually take every course if you'd like. And that's locked in for life. So that's kind of exciting. And again, my website, contifit.com, you could find out about the book, Split Second Courage. You could find out about the podcast, Two Fit Crazies in a Microphone, which we will get both of you on. That's been a long time coming. So we'll make that happen. Aside from that, I'm just so blessed to be on the airwaves with both of you and just to
We're
be
happy,
able to share my passion.
Well,
I'm so grateful.
we're
yes,
happy to
Christine.
have you, Christine, and we're proud of you. And you know, Christine she's she's come from the heart. She had an idea, she had a passion, and this passion was she built a foundation. She didn't build the roof first. You can't build the roof first. So first of all, she had to build a foundation, and this is what everyone should do. And we're proud of you for building a foundation, and then you put the roof on, and now you've got a whole house.
Those words are so meaningful because sometimes people say that I'm crazy, but you know what? Those of us crazy enough to think that we can change the world are the ones who do, right?